your happy weight, maintain it with a little to no effort, and never diet again? If that's a yes, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Perfect Gauge. I'm your host, Caroline Trickey, dietitian and eating psychology coach, and thank you so much for joining me. Over the past few weeks, we've been discussing the Perfect Gauge process, which is the tool I use to help women ditch diets, reconnect to their body wisdom, and find their happy weight. And the Perfect Gauge process is made up of 3 steps. Eat when your body is hungry, eat what your body wants, and today we're diving into the 3rd and final step, stop when your body has had enough. These steps can help you lose weight and maintain your weight for life. And it really is that simple. But simple doesn't mean easy to do. So over the past few episodes, we've been discussing the skills and strategies you need which can help you take these steps. The skills and strategies I teach my clients to make it easier for them. And today, we're going to be looking at the skills you need to be able to stop when you've had enough, which is possibly the most challenging step for many, many reasons. The first being that enough is often subtle, quiet, and easily missed, whereas it's hard to miss being hungry. Hunger grumbles and groans, and as you get progressively hungrier, you can become irritable and snappy, and if you're anything like me, unpleasant to be around. Eating enough, eating until you're satisfied, is much less obvious. So instead of eating enough, we eat what we're served, regardless of the plate size or how hungry we are, often unaware of how much we eat. In a study done quite a few years back, researchers provided a set amount of macaroni and cheese and then a much larger portion on a different occasion. Study participants consistently ate significantly more when given a larger portion, often eating up to 1/3 more. However, what's most interesting is that despite eating a larger portion, people reported similar feelings of fullness, and most didn't even notice there was a difference in serving size. Now, in a world where food is everywhere and portion sizes have been supersized, this ability to be better at noticing when we're hungry than noticing when we've had enough might seem like a design flaw. But it makes sense when you consider that the human body and brain have evolved for survival. Historically, that meant famine rather than feast. It's only really been in the last 50 years or so that our food supply is like a constant feast. Food is so plentiful and available everywhere you go 24/7, and your poor brain hasn't had the chance to adjust. And dieting only makes this worse. If you've been dieting for many, many years, been counting calories or macros, if you've been eating specific foods or eating at certain times, you've basically been conditioned not to listen to your body. After all, the diet industry thrives by convincing you not to listen to or trust yourself around food. So when it comes to implementing this step, you have to relearn how to listen. Then you've got to be able to act according to what you hear. You have to learn what enough or satisfied feels like. Then you've got to want to stop eating when you want to keep eating. So as you can imagine, this is a process. So let's start with recognizing the feeling of enough. And this really depends on 3 things. First, you need to have mastered the first 2 steps of the Perfect Gauge process. So you need to be eating when you're hungry, because if you don't start eating when you're genuinely hungry, there's no signal telling you to eat. Therefore, there will be no signal to tell you when to stop. It's virtually impossible to know when you've had enough if you're eating when you're not physically hungry. You also need to eat what your body wants. You need to know what you want and be eating food that actually appeals to you. If you're eating food that you don't want or eating what you think you should be eating, if you're eating something that doesn't taste good to you, you're never going to get enough, because you can never get enough of what you don't really want. As I mentioned in the last episode, if you really, really want lasagna but think, I can't eat lasagna if I want to lose weight, so you order the salad instead. While you may notice you feel physically full after eating the salad, you'll struggle to feel satisfied because it's not what you actually wanted. So part of feeling fulfilled is eating food you enjoy. And the third thing you need to do to help you know when you've had enough is pay attention to the food while you're eating it, to be a more conscious consumer. And there's a few things to think about here. The first of which is eating more slowly, since you can't really notice what you're eating if you've inhaled it. The second is eating without distractions, so not scrolling on your phone, answering emails, watching TV, or eating while walking around and doing other tasks. And the third one is what I still catch myself doing at times. So while you may not have any outside distractions while you're eating, if you're thinking about something while you're eating, if you're lost in thought, you can miss what you're eating, and you'll miss that signal that says, stop eating, you've had enough, that's enough. You're more likely to keep eating until the plate is empty or until there's nothing left on the table, because you've let your mind distract you. So eating when you are hungry, eating what you want, not what you think you should, and paying attention to the food as you're eating it can all help you know when you've had enough. You also need the skill of knowing what enough feels like, because it will feel different for everybody. It will feel different for you than it does for me. And as I mentioned before, it's very subtle. So this is how I describe it. Enough is when the feeling of physical hunger has disappeared. It's a feeling of contentment. You're not hungry, but you're also not full. You could probably have another mouthful, but you also don't need to. It's a very comfortable feeling that has a sense of lightness around it. Some people talk about eating until 80% full rather than full. And hey, if that works for you, great. Now, there's a distinct difference between having enough and being full. There's a range to feeling full. There are several different levels of feeling full. From the very subtle, I probably didn't need that last mouthful, through to, I feel like an overstuffed cushion. And if you don't stop eating then, if you keep going, you'll reach the point of, oh my God, I've eaten so much, I feel sick, which is never a pleasant place to be. When it comes to full, there's always a level of discomfort, whether it's a very mild discomfort or it's full-blown discomfort. When full grabs your attention and all you can think about is your belly, how full you are, and how you don't want to move. And this discomfort is simply a feedback signal from your stomach letting you know you've overfilled it and that it's been overstretched. You can also end up with heartburn, which happens when hydrochloric acid, which your stomach produces to break down food, goes up into your esophagus as a result of your stomach being overfilled. Now, there's a reason why you overeat. There is always a reason. And it's not that you're lazy or undisciplined. It's not that there is something wrong with you or that you need more willpower or self-control. There's always a reason. So let's take a closer look at what I mean. So you may be sitting with a big plate of food in front of you. You're only a third of the way through and suddenly you notice that you've had enough. It's subtle and could be easily ignored, but it's definitely your body letting you know, okay, that's enough. I've had enough. And you look at your plate and think, that can't be enough. I'm not even halfway through. Or you can think, I don't want to stop yet. It's too delicious. Or I don't want to stop. I'm enjoying myself. Or you may have the belief that you have to finish everything on your plate, or that you can't waste food, and you feel compelled to keep going. All of these things that your mind tells you are the reason you keep eating. These thoughts interfere with your ability to listen to your body and stop when you've had enough. And there's a whole lot of reasons why you'll have these thoughts. A big one for many of my clients, and this was also one of my biggest challenges, is the childhood programming about cleaning your plate. If you were trained for years and years to finish everything on your plate, you will finish everything on your plate. You'll feel compelled to. No matter how full you are, you'll keep eating until it's all gone. After all, you've been trained to believe it's the right thing to do. Now, for some people, overeating can serve as the perfect distraction. When you don't want to face or feel something in your life, overeating gives you something else to focus on. When you focus on how much you're eating, you divert your attention from the real issue. You get to control what you can control, which is the amount of food you put in your body, instead of some issue in your life that feels out of your control. And when food is feeding so many of your other non-physical hungers, there can be a feeling of, I want it all, I want every last bite, I don't want to stop. So this is what I spend so much of my time helping my clients with, identifying why they want to keep eating. Because world hunger will never be resolved by you finishing everything on your plate. If you're spending all of your time and all of your energy focusing on trying to be more disciplined, trying to have more willpower, and getting better at measuring out portion sizes, you're going to miss what's actually going on. And you can spend all of your time and energy doing those things. But if you don't get clear on the reasons that you don't want to stop eating when your body has had enough, if you don't want to listen to your body, then food and overeating will always have the upper hand. I can confidently say that my desire to overeat has disappeared. Even when eating the most delicious food, if I've had enough, I have no desire to keep eating. Just one extra bite can let me know I'm overdoing it and make me feel uncomfortable. And I really don't like feeling uncomfortable when I've finished eating. I enjoy the feeling of lightness, the feeling of not being hungry but not being full. So many of us don't want to stop eating when we've had enough. We want to keep going. The repetitive hand-to-mouth motion creates this physical momentum that can be hard to stop. Breaking this pattern can be challenging, but it's not impossible. Ultimately, when you stop eating depends on why you are eating and how you want to feel when you finish eating. You can stop eating when you feel satisfied, comfortable, and still have energy. Or you can keep going, finish everything on your plate, and end up feeling stuffed full and uncomfortable. It is always your choice. So that's what I have for you today. Notice when your body tells you that's enough, and if you stop or keep going. And if you'd like some help with this, you can get in touch with me through the link in the show notes. So that's the third and final step of the Perfect Gauge process. Stop when you've had enough. Join me next week when we look at why focusing on your weight can actually impede your progress. So make sure to tune in next week, and thank you so much for joining me today.